Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Reality Writes. I am author Ellie Alexander. This is the podcast where we talk about all things bookish, writerish, whatever else is on our mind, and we try to peel back the curtain and give you a look at what it takes to live the writer life. And as always, I am here with the one and only Tech Guy.
Hello, hello. And today we're going to be talking about a new book.
I know. I can't believe it.
Again.
I know. It's the story of my life right now.
You've got quite the publishing schedule this year. That is true.
I do. It's a great problem to have from a writing perspective. I don't even want to use the word problem. It's just, I'm so grateful to be able to be writing at this level. And as I've talked about many times on this podcast, and if you've come to any kind of book event with me, writing is definitely my happy place. And because I've been writing for nearly 2 decades now, and I've built up a lot of muscle memory, I tend to write pretty fast, which means more books for you, darlings, whether you want them or not. They're coming. They're coming at you fast and furious.
Hopefully they want them. And based on the comments that we get, it sounds like they do. But before we get started, I do want to let everybody know, as always, this is a spoiler-free episode. So if you don't know about the series we're about to talk about, if you don't know about the book we're about to talk about, do not worry, because we will not be giving away any secrets today. But you will be learning a little bit about the series and the book, and we'll be talking about some pretty cool stuff. So, and as always, send us a message link in the show notes.
That's right. And the killer in this book is dun dun dun. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Spoiler free. Yeah.
Spoiler free.
Yeah. So let's get into it. What book is releasing?
The next book in the novel Detectives, A Murder at the Mansion, is coming out on July 21st. I'm so excited to share this one with you, darlings. I've had such fun getting to develop this series and do a spin-off from the Secret Bookcase mysteries. And this book, yet again, is inspired by real-life places, as well as some real-life pets. This is the first time that I have had a pet focus in the actual mystery. So for those of you who love any sort of thing involving animals, this might be the mystery for you.
I love animals. I was just raising my hand.
I know, but are you concerned that something might happen to said animal?
No, because I listened to a few episodes ago, we talked about the cozy contracts, and that is something that you cannot break. You just can't do it. It can't be a cozy and have an animal die. I mean, could the animal be the murderer?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I just read a book where that was the case, so that's a whole other
But
Pandora's box that we won't go into. Yes.
I know you, so I know the animal is going to turn out to be okay.
I don't know.
But this is book 3 in this series, right?
This is book 3 in this series. And then because I did 6 books in the novel Detectives prior, or in the Secret Bookcase mysteries, I can't even keep them straight, in the Secret Bookcase mysteries first, these all connect. So in some ways, it's kind of book 9.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute for the darlings out there who don't know, because this was new to me, and this is something that you have worked on with your publisher, Storm. And so the Secret Bookcase Mysteries was the original series, and that series has 6 books in it.
Yes.
The novel Detectives, same characters, many of the same characters, is a spinoff from the Secret Bookcase Mysteries. I think I got that correct, but let me know if I didn't.
Well done. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that's right. And this is a first for me too in publishing. And this came from the editorial team. And they were like, hey, we would love to keep this series going. We originally developed the series together. And they had this idea that it would be fun to do a spinoff, a way to continue the series, maybe pull in new readers as well. And the way that I plotted Annie's growth and development over the course of the first 6 books was leading up to this idea that she has a degree and this history in criminology. And when I first started this series, I had Veronica Mars, kind of a modern grown up version of Veronica Mars in my head. And now in the spinoff with the novel detectives, and this is a tiny bit of a spoiler if you haven't finished the Secret Bookcase series, but you sort of already know where this is going. And her best pal Fletcher are actually investigating cases now. They were, of course, already involved in murder investigations in the first 6 books, but in the spinoff, they're legitimately getting invited onto the crime scene by the detectives, which is really fun and unique for most of my other cozies because in, let's say, the Bake Shop Mysteries, no pastry chef, like we've discussed, is ever going to be invited onto a crime scene or to help the investigative team with the case. But there's some legitimacy to Annie because she does have this training in criminology and her detective license and all of that. So it's fun to get to explore that and also to give her some different cases to work on, which is what she's doing in this particular book, Murder at the Mansion.
Yeah, and all of the action takes place in the same setting, which is Redwood Grove, right? So it's same setting as the other books in the series so far.
Same setting as the other books, same cast of characters, same cozy village, like all of those vibes are there. It's just kind of fleshing it out and making it that much stronger. And then thinking about how it can get creative with, a cold case or someone who might not remember what happened to them the night before and is covered in blood, or for this particular book, a wealthy heiress who's gone missing.
Oh, the wealthy heiresses always go missing. That's just
That's right. When
that's
in
what
doubt,
happens.
yeah. The wealthy heiress
Sorry.
always goes missing. You have a treasure trove of potential suspects in all of the family who wants said wealthy heiress's estate, all of the things. It's just chef's kiss.
That's awesome. Quick aside about Redwood Grove. This is a fictional town. Some of your other series, many of your other series are set in real life places. This, however, is a fictional place. However, one time not too long ago, we were looking at a map because you had shown me a property that you were looking at, because this is for the darlings out there who don't know, Ellie is always looking at properties and houses and saying, wouldn't it be great? Isn't this one lovely? What do you think of this? And this doesn't matter. We could have just moved into a new house last week and I would be getting suggestions on new stuff, but I digress. So you showed me a property and it was up in the mountains out by the coast here in the Bay Area. And I was looking at a map to find out where this place was in relation to other things. And I was kind of scrolling around and I came across Redwood Grove. It's not a city, it's an unincorporated area up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, but I was like, there's no way. It is a real place. And it's not too far
I was
from
just going to say.
Filoli, which is the real life inspiration for the Secret Bookcase mystery setting and the bookstore that Annie and Fletcher work at, right?
I mean, basically, I manifested it, is what it
Yeah.
comes down to. I just decided that there should be a Redwood Grove. I put it on the page, and now it shows up in real life, which has happened so many times in my books. But yeah, it was such a trip to be like, wait, we could just drive there right now. This can't be
Right now.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so wild. But this book is set in Redwood Grove, just like the others. So that's awesome. Is there anything that you want the darlings to know about Redwood Grove, since we know that it might be kind of a sort of a real place?
Yes, there's so much I want the darlings to know about Redwood Grove. As you alluded to, my inspiration for this series is the stunning estate of Filoli, which is an old Edwardian mansion, as well as these gorgeous grounds and gardens we've visited countless times before I started writing. Then once I visited and knew that I had to set a book here, we've gone, I too many times to count, to make sure that I'm getting the details right or to imagine where things might be. Filoli is not a functional bookstore, but in my mind, I have turned it into a bookstore. And then I've imagined that there are all of these kind of like what you really have, especially in the English countryside, where you have all these little towns that connect with pathways. That's my vision for Redwood Grove, that from the secret bookcase, you could take these little pathways and end up in the village within, a half a mile or something. And then that you are surrounded by these old growth forests and redwood trees, and all of that is true to life in the Bay Area here. And then the other thing I've done with Redwood Grove is I've mashed up a number of small towns. Since we've been living in California for the last few years, we've noticed like every community, even if it's 10 miles away, has its own cute, charming little downtown with cozy shops and coffee spots and restaurants. So I've taken a bunch of those and mashed them up and made them this village square of Redwood Grove. And the fun thing about getting this deep into the series now is that I get to keep expanding. So in this book, we're going to meet the owner of uh-oh, darlings, I almost just gave something away, so the tech guy's going to have to cut that.
Oh, it'll be cut. It's cut when they're listening to it. But if there's a weird break in this podcast episode, now you know why, because Ellie just revealed something from the next book in the series, which she is currently writing, and stopped mid-sentence with a look of horror on her face because, as we said at the beginning of this podcast, this is a spoiler-free zone. So
A spoiler-free zone. Okay, so what you are going to get to meet in this particular book, A Murder at the Mansion, is a new set of shops in town, a couple new spots that Annie and Liam, her love interest, are going to visit. And then there is a mansion that makes the secret bookcase look like servants' quarters.
whoa.
And she gets called out to this mansion because our heiress has gone missing, and they have been invited to help find this missing heiress. And at this point in time, Bernadette Garst is the name of the missing woman. We don't know whether she is alive, whether she's been kidnapped, whether she is frustrated with her family and has decided to jet off to one of her many homes all across the globe. And so Annie and Fletcher are like deep in the mansion and the grounds there. And what I've done with this is I've taken some parts of Filoli and then just expanded them and made them that much bigger.
That's awesome. Quick side note about Filoli that you were not aware of when you first concepted the idea of the secret bookcase mysteries. Filoli, the mansion on the property, actually has a secret bookcase. And actually two secret bookcases. One of them opens to reveal a bar, which is a very cool thing. And the other opens to reveal some hidden shelves. But nonetheless, that was another thing that kind of got manifested with the advent of the series.
It's so cool. So the other thing that I talked about at the beginning is the fact that there is a pet involved in this story. So this is the first series that I've written where there is already a pet detective in Professor Plum, who is Annie's tabby cat. And Professor Plum has been in every book in the series and has, played a role, I'll just say, in a few of the cases. And Professor Plum is going to have an even bigger starring role as the series develops. We also have two crows that are sort of the mascots now of the novel detectives. And this all was born out of my own experience with feeding crows at our local swimming pool. So I love weaving those sort of things in. But I was brainstorming with my writers group when I was working on the plot for this book. And I said, this is going to be someone who is just, next level of wealthy, right? This old California money, and that the Garst family has owned acres and acres of land and has also had this sort of like old school commitment to preserving nature, preserving these historic places, and a funding of the arts. And one of the women in my writers group was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, like I see these people all the time in the work that I do in my non-writing job." And then we started talking about like what would be some of the most outrageous and outlandish things that might happen. And I was thinking, oh, Bernadette also owns prized poodles. And so she has a poodle that gets chartered by helicopter up to a pet spa once a week. And this really happens. This was all based on my writers group discussion. And then I did a deep dive into this world of the ultra wealthy who will helicopter or they'll send their dog trainer with their prized pet to a spa that is nicer than any spa you or I could even imagine, like full lunches and massages and grooming sessions for the trainers and the pets. I mean, it's so outrageous. And I love that. And I can't wait because I know I'm going to hear from some of you darlings that are like, Ellie, come on, this is so over the top. It's real. I'm telling you, it's real.
I am surprised that there wasn't any first-person research necessary for these super expensive spas while you were writing this book.
It would have been, I don't think they'd let me in. I think they'd be like, no, I'm sorry.
You have to
I don't
submit your
think so.
tax returns in order to get
Yeah,
access.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's
I
one of
read a
those
cozy
places.
mystery. Can I come to your spa and just shadow, you for the day? Yeah. Yeah, but I can't wait for that thread. And then I just really enjoy this idea of these being investigations and true cases. Not that in my other series, like there's always a body, there's always a murder, and there probably will be in this one. You'll have to wait and see. But
Ooh,
there's such a focus on getting called out to this missing persons case, which would happen again in the real world with any sort of private detective firm. You might hire somebody like that to come find your missing relative, etc.
that's so great. Yeah, that how many books will this series have?
Well, I am currently working on book 7 of the novel detectives.
Oh, I didn't even know you were that far into it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So
That's
it's a good
great.
thing you're going to cut that part that I almost tried to spoil. I'm way too far ahead.
Well, and that's the problem you've talked about several times on Reality Rights is that with the way that the publishing schedules work, you are always working 1, maybe 2 books ahead of the one that is currently releasing. And so that presents challenges when you wanna talk about the book that's currently releasing
I
because
know.
your mind is 1 or 2 books into the future, sometimes more.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult to, have conversations like this, I think.
Darlings, these are the real world struggles of the writer life that we are sharing here on this podcast. But it's true. I'm always books ahead. And I wrote this book, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And so once I send off a book, it goes through obviously the editorial process and everything like that. But then I haven't touched it for months and months at a time. I get super excited when it's finally then coming out because it's been in the process of being developed and edited and all those things. And each stage has its own exciting moments, when you first see the cover or when you get page proofs or when you physically get early copies, it goes up on NetGalley. But I really need to start doing like a quick like reread before book launches because yeah, like you said, I'm so far into the series and a lot of things have developed as they do in series writing that I need like a quick refresher to be like, oh yeah, that's right. You don't know this yet, darlings. I gotta zip the lips.
Right, we talked about that in a previous episode of Reality Rights too, where in mysteries, there is the mystery that takes place, so the case for the book that you happen to be reading, but there are often overarching mysteries and developments that take place over the course of several books, within a series itself, so knowing which books that stuff takes place in is an ongoing challenge for the author and their tech guys.
And their tech guys. And thank goodness for editorial staff at the publishing houses who send long, long lists of everything that has happened, book by book, chapter by chapter. I always do that quick synopsis before I start writing. Yeah. What I love about this particular series is it still has all of those cozy vibes, but I've done a deep dive into what it's like to own and work at an independent bookstore. And I've also done a lot of research, some of which doesn't even make it into the books, about what it's like to run a private detective agency. And I've learned so much over the last few years. And I'm so fascinated now by how much private detectives can actually do as far, and this is all based on California state law since the books are set here. So I know that the rules change state by state. But I'm quite impressed. It's more than just maybe like trying to snap photos of a cheating spouse or something like that. There is a lot that private detectives can do to assist the police and investigative teams in real cases. So I have copious stacks of notes for future books too, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess.
Copious stacks of notes on how to get away with murder. That's
Mhm.
like not something you advertise, probably.
No, maybe not. No. And then the other thing about the bookstore piece is we've talked at length about how cozies really are these escapism reads. They're kind of fantasy, but I have always imagined what it must be like to work at or own a bookstore, right? It's total wish fulfillment to get to
Mhm.
write this series. You and I have had 1,000 conversations about, like, you know what? There are a lot of authors who own bookstores. Maybe we should do that too. Neither of us have any time to actually make that happen. But the reality of doing a deep dive and having a lot of conversations with friends and colleagues who I've known over the years who do own bookstores, it's not as romantic as it might seem, darlings. It's fantastic. I mean, all of them love books. They're purveyors of books. They're supporters of books. It's all those things. But you are not spending your days sitting in the bookstore reading and recommending books and walking people. I mean, like, you're doing some of that, but it's a lot of work and there's so much more that goes in behind the scenes in terms of vendor relations and ordering and restocking. It's been so fun to I have shadowed some booksellers and just watched them be like, yep, okay, well, 25% of my day is just putting books back on a shelf that got misplaced. And they're not even mad about it, but
Yeah, so darlings out there, if you take a book off the shelf, put it back where it was. Help an indie bookstore owner out.
that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
it's almost like you talk about being an author being a lot of work, and
Yeah.
how these professions that all seem super dreamy and fun and
Mhm.
easy actually take some effort too, because they are fun, but a lot of work goes into making them fun. I will say that owning a bookstore is probably still on our respective lists for doing at some point, sometime. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen. I'd love to hear from the darlings out there if they would stop in and discuss like murder plots and stuff with me, because I know I'd be behind the register while you're writing books.
This feels like my sign to start sending you new properties where we could vibe.
Oh no. Oh no, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, of course. Okay, so now I'm going to start getting a bunch of commercial properties. I'm foreseeing a lot of live work spaces coming my way
Yes.
in the next couple of days. That's
Ooh.
great.
Okay, this is a total aside, but not really. And I have thought about how I might incorporate this into the series for a future book. There is a bookstore. I can't remember now if it's in Ireland or Scotland, but I've sent it to you. And you get to go stay. It is a live workspace. So it's a cozy, sweet little, I think it's Ireland, but it could be Scotland. Cozy, sweet little bookstore. And you stay for a week and you run the bookstore as part of your stay. I mean, that's the dream. We have to do
Wow.
that first and test it. And the owners are super casual about it. It's like, well, if you want to go out for a hike, you just put the closed sign up for a couple hours, but you come, you stay, you pay to stay, and you run the bookstore. Like, it's also a brilliant strategy on their part, but I'm sold. Darlings, are you with me? We need a book tour there.
That is amazing. Maybe Annie and Fletcher will have to incorporate that into the shop at some point.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there would be a body. Somebody wouldn't do their duty.
Somebody
know.
didn't put the books back in the right place, and they
right.
ended up paying the ultimate price for it. I told you,
As you
darlings,
do.
you got to put those books back. Oh,
It's a public
no.
service announcement, really.
All right. So book 3 comes out July 21st. It's available for pre-order now, ebook and paperback and audio.
Yeah.
Yes. All 3. The trifecta.
All formats. I know. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to get your hands on it, darlings. Please share if you've read it. I always love hearing your thoughts. And yeah, I think we need to start planning another bookish trip soon, just in the name of research.
I do love the bookish research. It is the best part of the job.
It's true.
All right. And you said you're working on book 7 right now, so there's a lot more to come in the novel detective series. Will the novel detective series have a spinoff? That's what I want to know.
Whoa, a spinoff of the spinoff?
Professor Plum is going to get his own
That's
spinoff.
right, yes.
It'll be a fully pet detective series.
Okay.
You never know.
All right.
There's
Yeah.
probably a market for that. There's probably
I'm
a
sure
market
there's a
for
market
that.
for that. Yeah. You heard it here first, darlings.
All right. Anything else you want to share with the darlings about A Murder at the Mansion?
A murder at the mansion. You just have to say it like that. A murder at the mansion. I want to say, as always, darlings, thank you for your support, for coming along with me on so many books. It's just a delight to have such a connected community, and I could not do this without you. So thank you for all that you do, for sharing, for telling friends, for posting reviews, for your ideas, all of it. It's just incredible to be part of this community.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, with that, I am going to say until next time.
Until next time.